we're going to be playing some classic Windows 95 FreeCell. If you're new to my channel, we usually play card games and tabletop games on an actual table, but this is going to be the first of my extra videos where we play some games on the computer, and I thought it would be fun to start with this classic nostalgic version of FreeCell. So in this version of FreeCell, there are 32,000 deals that you can play, and some people have gone through all 32,000. We're definitely not going to be able to do that because I would have to play a lot more than I'm planning on playing if I wanted to get through all of them. But we are going to start from 1 and see how far we can get. Maybe we'll do 50, maybe we'll do 100, maybe we'll even do more than that. We'll just have to play and see. So let's start out on the first deal, number 1. So the goal of FreeCell is to move all of the cards into these 4 piles in the upper right. These are called the home cells in FreeCell, but in other Solitaire games they're called the foundations, and I'm probably going to end up calling them the foundations just out of habit. Each of these piles starts with an ace and is then stacked up in suit to king. So for example, we would move the ace of clubs to one of these piles, then we would add the 2 of clubs to the pile, then we would add the 3 of clubs and the 4 of clubs, and we would go all the way up to king. And once we've done that with all 4 suits, then we win the game. This arrangement of cards in the center of the screen here is called the tableau. And on the tableau, you stack in descending sequence and alternating color. What this means is that we could take a red 7 and put it on top of this black 8. We could then take a black 6 and put it on top of the red 7. To aid us in moving cards on the tableau, we have 4 free cells here in the upper left. You may move any available card up into one of the free cells, and once it's there, you can leave it there as long as you want until you find a place to move it back to, either on the tableau or onto one of the foundation piles or home cells. Normally, you can only move 1 card at a time, but if you have open free cells, you can move multiple. To give you an example, let's say you had 8, 7, and 6 on this pile right here, and you wanted to move all 3 of them together. You could take the 6 and the 7 and move them into the cells, then you could move the 8, and then move the 7 and the 6 back from the cells. And the game will actually automatically do this for you. You just have to move the 8, and it will automatically move the 7 and the 6, assuming that you have enough cells to do that. The last important rule is that if you manage to empty out one of the columns by moving out all of the cards, you can place any card in the empty space. In some Solitaire games, you're only allowed to move a king into the empty space, but in FreeCell, you can put any card you want in that space. So let's get started and solve this first deal. And by the way, all 32,000 of the deals are possible to win except for 1. I don't remember the exact number, I'll put it on the screen in case you're curious, but every deal except that one can be solved. So let's start by moving this 3 to the cell, and the game will automatically move cards to the foundation if it's safe to do so. So when I move this 2 to the cell, it's actually going to move this ace and this ace to the foundations automatically, and it will also take the 2 out of the cell and put it on the foundation as well. You can see it did that automatically. I didn't have to do that. Now the next thing I think I'm going to do is move this queen to the cell, and then move this 7 to the cell. And now I'm going to move this 8 into the empty space and this 7 on the 8. Then my goal here is to try to get to the ace of hearts. So I'm going to move the jack to the cell and then the 4 to the cell. Now this looks kind of bad because having all your free cells used up can be a pretty bad situation, because having free cells is what allows you to move multiple cards. So when you use up all your free cells, you can take away a lot of your options. But we revealed the red king here, so we can move the black queen and then the red jack, and we get 2 of our cells back. So we have 3 of our aces, 2 of our 2s, and we've got 2 open cells. We want to get the ace of diamonds, but the problem is the 2 of diamonds is all the way at the bottom of this pile, and this pile has 2 kings in it. So even if we get the ace of diamonds, we're going to have a hard time getting to this 2. I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to try to dig out these 2 3s right here, and maybe make an empty space in this pile. So let's move this 10 onto the jack. We'll move this 7 to the cell, and then this 7 to this red 8 right here. And then we'll move these 2 to the foundations. You notice it didn't automatically move them to the foundations. That's because it will only automatically move a card to the foundation if you have both of the cards ranked one below it of the opposite color added to the foundation. So because we don't have the 2 of hearts and diamonds, it doesn't automatically move the 3. We have to do it manually. And same with the 3 of hearts. We don't have the 2 of clubs and spades, so it doesn't move the 3 manually. We have to do it ourselves. So I'm going to move this 6 onto the 7, and then this 5 onto the 6, giving us an empty space here. Now I'm going to move this 8 onto the 9, and now I think I'm going to move this 4 to the foundation. And then let's move this jack to the empty space, and now we grab the ace of diamonds. Now I'm going to move the 5 of hearts to the foundation as well. Note that this is a little unsafe to be building up your foundations unevenly like this. You usually want them to be within 2 numbers of each other. And so we're kind of building ahead on the hearts, but I think in this instance it's worth it. Let's move the 5 onto the 6. And now we want to start digging down to get this 2. Let's move this 9 and 8 to the empty space. And we'll move the column. I'll move this 8 to the cell, this 10 to the jack, and we're going to temporarily move this 4 of diamonds to the 5 so that we get an open cell. Now that we have an open cell, we can move this 5 and this 9 and 8 onto the 10. And we'll move this 8 and 7 to the empty space. Now let's take this 5 and 4, move them onto the 6 right here. Now I'm going to move both of these kings to the free cells, and we finally get the 2 of diamonds. And now I think we want to dig down here and grab the 2 and 3 of spades. Let's move this 6 here, this 6 here, this 3 here, and there we go. It automatically moved all of those cards to the foundation for us. Now we're almost done solving this one. We just have to untangle these 2 piles right here. Once you have all the cards in descending order, it will automatically finish the game for you. Let's move this 6 to the foundation. I'm going to put this king on the empty space and then move this queen onto it, and now we can move the jack on the queen. Let's move this king to the empty space. And then we'll move that 10 to the cell, and then that king like that. And now let's move this 5, or the queen, to reveal the 5. We'll put the 5 here, the jack to the cell, and now we can do queen, or king, queen, jack, and 10. And now we need to get to this 4. We'll move all 4 of these cards to the cells. We reveal the 4, and now it just stacked a bunch of stuff up automatically. We just have to reveal these last few 9s. Oh, and we've got the 7 right here. That's the last thing. So let's just move these cards there, and there we go. we won the first deal. So that's how FreeCell works. Hopefully it makes sense. Let's select a new game and move on to deal number 2. So to start, we have an ace. We can move that straight to the home cell. Now our other aces, we've got one here, the ace of hearts, the ace of diamonds, and the ace of clubs. I think to start, we're gonna take the 3 of hearts and move it to the FreeCell, and then we get the ace of hearts, and now we'll move the 7 of diamonds to the FreeCell, so we get the 2, and we'll move the 3 as well. So we have 2 aces, one of our foundations is stacked up to 3, and we're only using 1 FreeCell. Now let's see where I want to go from here. Ace of diamonds here, ace of clubs here. Which one do we want to go for first? Or do we want to get an empty pile first? That might also be an option. But we could empty out this pile if we had a red 6, but we don't. Both of them are buried pretty deep. This pile is tempting because we've got the 2 of spades, which we can take, and we've got the 3 of diamonds, but we actually can't move the 3 of diamonds to the foundation until we get the ace and the 2. I think I'm going to dig down into this pile. Take the 2, the 7 can go here. This is not going to work like I thought it was, because we would need an extra open space there. I was going to move this 7 and then this black 6 into the empty space, but we can't do that. What if we move this here? We would need a black jack to move this 10 to. We can't get one. Let's move this 5 onto the 6 and move this 3 to the foundation. Then I'm going to move this 6 to the empty, or to the FreeCell, and then move the 7 and the 6 back on the 8. So now we've got 2 FreeCells open. Let's move this 5 onto the 6, move this 6 to the cell, the 6 to the 7, then the 5 to the 6, and we get the ace of diamonds. Now we want to dig down here. I'm going to move this 10 to the cell, then the 3 to the 4, this 10 to the empty space, and then this 9 as well. And I'm going to move this 6 right here, like that. Let's move this 4 and 3 onto the 5. Now I'm going to move this 9 to the cell, and then this jack onto the red queen, and this 10 out of the cell onto the jack. I don't actually know exactly where I'm going with this solution. I want to be able to get this king to an empty space, but I don't know how we're going to be able to do that right now. Does that do anything? I don't think that helps at all. I think I might have got myself into a dead end. Well, what if we move that queen and jack there and create an empty space? Is there anything we can now do that would help us get another open cell or a free space? We could move this 7 and 6 here and then put this 9 on the 10. Now let's move this 10 and 9 there. This king to the empty space, and then this 7 and 6 onto that 8. And now we can move the king and the queen like that. Actually, I actually didn't want to do that. I wanted to move this queen jack 10 onto the king. I shouldn't have done that. That didn't help at all. Because now we've got this 5 that we can't do anything with. I don't know if that ruined the game. We really want to get this king, queen, jack, 10, 9 into an empty space. We can do this, swap that queen with the jack and move the 10 and the 9 over. We can move the 5 to the cell and then move the queen and the jack into the empty space. Oh, I might have just blocked myself. We can't move the 8, 7, 6 because we don't have enough cells for it. The other red 6 is all the way down there. We can't. Let's move these back like that for now. We'll move this 876 right here onto this pile. Then we'll move this jack to the empty space. Okay, then the queen. We move the queen onto the king, and now we put the jack on the queen. Now we can move the queen, king, jack to the empty space. Okay, here we go. I think we solved it now. We just have to work out these last few knots here. Not the tidiest solution. Pretty sloppy, I would say. But I think we are going to win. We can move the 3 to there. Open up another cell. We need to dig down here and grab that 2. Let's move this 8 and 7 onto that 9. And then this 10 and 9 onto the jack. Now we can start moving these cards. The 6 through 3 onto the 7. The 8, 7 onto the 9. The 10 goes here. Alright, now we've definitely solved this. So I think as soon as we move this 6 to the 7, I think the game... Oh no, because we've still got that 4 there, but we should get a bunch of cards. Yeah. And then we'll put that 9, this pile over here, and now when we move this queen to the king, now the game should be won. There we go. Okay, there's deal number 2. Let's move on to number 3. And we start with an ace and a 2. Our other aces, we've got 1 here, and 1 down here. Which pile would probably be the best one to dig down into? I think this one. We move this 2 to the cell, but as soon as we get this ace of clubs, then it's going to go out of the cell. The 10 goes to the jack, we get the ace, and now all we need is to move this 9 to the cell, and we get the 2. Now we've got one more ace. Right there, the ace of diamonds. Let's move this 5 to the cell, and this 3 and 2. Yeah, we move the 3, and then we automatically get the 3 and 2 to the home cells. Now let's put this 5 here, and then move the jack, 10, and 9 to the cells, and then move them back down onto the queen. Like that. This 8 can come over. This 9 can go here. We can move this 5, 4 there, and then we'll move this 3 to the home cell. Move the king to the cell, and then we get our last ace. Now we need this 2. We need this 3. We can move this 4 to the home cell immediately if we want to. We also need the 4 of hearts. Are there any red 7s that are easily available? There's one down here. That might be the one that's worth going for. Let's move this 4 like that. Move this 5 and 6 to the cells. Take this 4. And I'm going to move this 5 to the home cell as well. And now I'm going to move this 10 to the cell. This 7 over to this 8 like that. Then this queen here. Now I'm going to move this 5 and this 6 to the foundation. That way we can move this queen here, this 6 here. I'm going to move this king to the empty space, this queen on top, this jack onto the queen, revealing the 2, and then we'll take this 10 and 9 out of our cells. I think we'll dig into this pile next. So this jack 10, 9 can go onto the queen. We'll move this to a cell, and I'm going to move this 5 and 4 to the cells. We get the 3 and 4 automatically, and we can move this 5 whenever we want. Actually, I'm going to do it now. And we'll reveal the 4 by moving this queen. This one's almost solved. We'll move this 8 here, this jack onto the queen. This 7 and this 7 can both go to the home cells, and we just need to untangle this pile right here. There we go. Game number 3 is solved. So let's move on to game number 4. In this one we start with an ace and a 2. our other aces, we've got one here, and one here. This one's a little deep. Actually, these two are both a little deep. I'm going to start by moving this 8 and 7 onto the 9 like that, and then this 8 here. Then I'm going to move this 4 to the cell. We get the ace. Unfortunately, both our black 6s are deep in this pile. Let's move this 4 and 3 onto the 5. Put this king to the cell, and then move this 7 here, and then we get the ace. We can move this 6 onto the 7, we get the 2, and we can move the 3 and the 4 to the home cells if we want. Our last ace is down here. I'm gonna move this king and queen to the cells, and then move the 3 to the foundation, and then we'll move the king and the queen back down. And I'll move this jack over like that. And I think now I'm gonna take the opportunity to move the 3 and the 4 to the cells. The home cells, I mean. We still need to get to this ace here. I think I know what I want to do. I think I want to dig down into this pile right here. And I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to move this 6 to the cell, this 7 to the 8, and then this 8 and 9 to the cells. This 6 can go on the 7. This 10, 9, and 8 can go back down right there. We'll move this 3 to the cells for now. We'll eventually move that to the foundation. This 7 can go here. This 5 can go here. Now this 4 goes to the cells. We get the 3, 4, and the 5 of spades. This 4 can go down here. Now let's work our way down here. We'll move this king to the empty space. The 7 goes to the cell. The queen goes there. The 10 goes to the cell, then we take the 5 to the foundation, the 10 goes to the jack, and finally we get that ace. Now we need to dig down here. Let's move this 9 to the 10, and then this queen onto the king, so we get another empty space. Now we can move this 6 and 5 onto the black 7. My goal right now is to grab this. I want to put this over here, and then we can put the 10 of hearts and start moving these cards over to this pile. So we'll do this, move this to the foundation, then move this here. Now we move the jack right there, this 10. And I think if we move this 7 to the 8, we now have enough open spaces to move the 9 through the 5 onto the 10, which we do. We'll move the jack and the 10 to the empty space. This goes to a cell, this 9 goes onto the 10, this 6 goes onto the 7, and there we go. We've pretty much got this solved. We just have to work out a few more knots. I think this pile is the only thing left, and I think as soon as we move this queen to this king, I think the game's over. Yep. Alright. We're getting through these pretty quick. I don't know if these are the, optimal solutions. I think that you can probably do these a lot faster and in less moves than I'm doing them, but I'm definitely not a FreeCell expert. I'm not one of the people who solved this game thousands upon thousands of times. I do love this game, but I would not consider myself an expert. Okay, so we start with the ace of diamonds. Our other aces, we've got this one here, and the other two down here pretty deep. Which pile do we want to dig into first? I'm not actually sure what the best option to start with here is. Actually, I think it might be this pile here. We move this 6 to the 7, 10 goes to the cell, the queen goes here, and then we can move this jack onto the queen. We get one of our aces, and then to get the other one, we can move this 7 to the cell, and then we move this 5 here, and we get the other ace. And now let's move this 7 to here, and then this 7, 6 onto this 8 here, so we can move this 9 here. Now can we dig into the rest of this pile? I actually don't think we have enough cells to do that. Let's empty this pile right here. We actually can. We can move this 10-9 onto the jack. Then we can move this 8-7-6 onto the 9, and then this 4 and this 3 can go right here. Now I think we might be able to dig into this pile. So this goes to the cell, this 5 goes here. We'll move this 10 into... No, that's not going to work. Okay, but we can do this. We can move this queen into the empty space, then move this 4 onto the 5, this 10 onto the jack, then this 3 can go onto the 4. Our cards are starting to go off the screen. Then the 2 goes on top, the 5 goes to the cell, and we get the 2. Now let's dig into here. Put the jack and 10 into the empty space. This goes on the 7, and then we move this 3 to the cell, we get the 2, and we'll move the 3 manually, then this 3 comes down here. Okay. Now let's see, we've got a 2 here, and we've got another 2 here. I think I'm going to dig down into this one first by doing this. We'll move the 8 to the cell, then we'll move this jack onto the queen, and then this 10 onto the jack. And then we move this king to the empty space, this 9 onto the 10, and we get the 2. We can move the 3 as well. Now we want to get down here. Let's move this 4 to the foundation, and then we'll move the 5 onto this pile. Then we'll move the 6 onto the empty space, this queen here. And we don't have enough cells to get this jack 10-9 onto the queen. We need one more. Can we get one more? Maybe. Move this 6 to the cell and then replace it with this 5. Then this 5-4. Like that. No, this isn't going to work, I don't think. No, this plan that I had is not going to work. We can move this 5 to the foundation, but we have no way of getting the 5-4-3 back onto the red 6. Let's move this back. And we'll put the 6 here. Then we'll move this jack to the cell, and this 5 onto the 6, and then we get the 2. Now we can move this 9 here, and then this 8 onto the 9. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now we can move the jack 10-9 onto the queen. Let's put this jack in the empty space, then put the 10 on it. We'll put this 7 in the empty space, then put this 6 on it. This 9 goes over here. This 7 can go on the 8. And let's flip this king and queen. Then we'll move the jack 10-9 onto the queen. And now we just have to untangle this big ugly pile right here, but it shouldn't be too hard because now we've got all our cells and an empty space, so we can just move all these over here. We can move this whole pile right here into the empty space. This 8 goes here, and then I believe we move the king to the cell, and the game is won. Okay, nice. There's the first 5 down. I think we'll do like 1 or 2 more. Let's see. We'll do number 6. We start with an ace of hearts again. And where do we go from here? This one. This ace of spades is right near the surface. This ace is buried a little bit deeper, and then this ace is also pretty deep. I think I'm going to move this to the cell, take the ace of spades, then move this 5 to the 6. Then I'm going to move this 6 and 5 to the 7. I kind of wanted to get this queen onto the king. Or we could get this jack out of the cells as well. I think I am going to do that. So this is going to fill up our cells temporarily. But then we get an empty space and we free up our cell by moving the jack onto the queen. And now I think we can dig down here and grab that ace, which will free up another cell. We move these to the foundation, we get the ace and the 2. Okay, and we can move this to the cell, and then we get the 2 of hearts. I'm going to move this 8 to the empty space, and then move the 7 and the 6 on top. I think the next goal is to go for this 2, and that didn't really help us with that. What if I shift this 10, 9 onto the jack, and then I reverse these? Actually, even better, I put these back on the cells. I move this king to the empty space, and then I stack these like this. Now we can move this 10 like that, and then this 9 like that. This 3 will just move straight to the foundation. I'll move this 9 to the cell, and then this jack to the cell. Then this 8 will come over like that, and I'll move this queen to the empty space. We get the 2, and then I'll move the jack onto the queen. Let's see, where do we want to go next? I think we want to go down here, grab that 3 of hearts. We can also take this safely because we have the black foundations up to 2. Let's move this 10 and 9 there. I'll move this 6 onto the 7, and now we have enough open cells to move this king, queen, jack onto the empty space like that. We'll move this queen to the cell. Now we can move this 5 to the foundation, and we'll put the queen and the jack in the empty space. Now we have enough open cells to make this move, the 8 through 5 onto the 9. And this one is looking pretty close to being solved. Move this 10 here. Okay, yeah. Just these 2 piles have to be worked out, and it shouldn't be that hard. Move these to the empty space. This goes like that. This 10 to the jack. This 9 on the 10, and then we just move 8, 7, 6, and then the 7 and 6 go here. This king goes to the empty space, and this should be the final move. There we go. Okay. On to number 7. We start with the ace of clubs. This is probably going to be the last one I'm going to do for tonight. Our other aces, we've got the ace of hearts here, the ace of diamonds here, and the ace of spades right there. Which pile do we want to dig down and do first? I kind of want to do this one because we get the 2 of clubs as well. We move the 7 to the cell, the 3 comes over to the 4, we get the ace of spades. Now we can move this 5 to the 6, and this 10 goes to the cell, and we get the 2, and we have an empty space. Now what do we want to do with that empty space? We can get the ace of diamonds pretty easily here. We move the 3 to the 4, the 7 to the empty space, and now we get it. We can move this 6 here, and this 5 here. So now we have the 2 and 3 of hearts unlocked. We just need to get to the ace. We can move the 4 and the 3 onto the 5 like that, the 9 onto the 10, and now we just have to move, yeah, okay, so we move the 6. Now all our cells are full, but I think we can do something about it. I'll move this, and then this 4 onto the 5, then this 7 goes onto the 8, freeing up a cell, and then we put the 6 on the 7, and the 5 and the 4 come back over. Now we've got 2 open cells and an empty space. We are stacking on this 2 of diamonds, though. That could be a problem. This is safe to do because we have both red aces, and I think we should be able to just dig down into here. This 4 goes on the foundation. We'll put this king in the cell like that, and then we'll move the 9, 8, and 7. And then we can make this empty space like that. We are running pretty low on cells, though. Now we should probably work on getting down here. Let's put this 4 and 5 there. I'm gonna put this jack down like that, and then move the 10 and the 9 onto it. We can move this 6 and 5 onto the 7. I'm gonna put this 5 and 4 there like that. I really want a red 9 to put this 8 and 7 onto, but neither of them are in very good spots. Let's put this 8 and 7 here, so we've only got one card away from creating an empty space right there. I'm actually gonna forget about this 2 of diamonds for now. Instead, we're gonna dig down here. Move that to the foundation. Okay, I think this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move this 9 to the cell, then this jack to the empty space, and this 10 on top like that. Oh, this isn't gonna work the way I thought it would. Let's leave this 10 here. Instead, we'll move this jack to the cell, move this king here like this, then move this jack over. And now we'll move the 10 over. This still isn't going to work. I might not have thought this through correctly. Oh, okay, I might have an idea. Let's move this king to the cell, then this king right here. Move this 10 back over to that jack, and then we move the queen and the jack onto that. Now we move the 8 to the cell, and then we move the 9 and the 8 back like that. Now we've got 2 cells open. And now we'll move the 10 over, now that we've got a king, queen, jack there like that. Now I think we move the 9 and the 8 to the cells, and then the 10 and the jack like this. Is that right? We can move this jack right there and it opens the cell, but that doesn't help. I think I might have blown this one. If I had an empty space to get this king down, this would be done, but I don't. I think I might have blown this one. We can move these here, but there's no other red 7. To move the 6 and the 5 too. We don't have enough cells to move it to an 8, even if we had one, which we don't. If we move this 5 to the cell, we don't have another open cell to move this queen and jack onto the king. Otherwise, that's what I would do. I think, yeah, this game is over. Let's try again. I actually don't even remember how I started last time. I was so deep in thought that I kind of just totally forgot how that started. I think it was like this. Maybe not, but this is how I'm going this time. And we should have enough cells to do this, and now this 9 can go here. I definitely don't think this is what I did last time, but I actually kind of like where this is going. Yeah, look at this. We move the 6 to the 7, and then this 5 comes over, we get an empty space, and then we move this and we get another empty cell. We've got 3 cells in an empty space. We can get the final ace. Let's move this jack to the empty space, and then this 5 over here. We'll move this 10 and 9 onto the jack. That's what I meant to do. This 10 to the cell, and we get the 2. We'll take the 3 as well. Now we need to get down here. Let's move the 6, 5, 4 onto the 7. Then I'm going to move the 8, 7 to the empty space, this queen here. Then I'm going to move the queen to the cell. Let's move this jack onto the queen, this 8 to the cell, then we'll move the king to the empty space and the queen from the cell. This 4, I think we'll just move it to the foundation. Let's move this 6 and 5 onto that 7, and this 3 onto the 4. We can take that once we get this 2, but I want to make some moves first before we move these to the cells. I'm going to move this jack, 10, and queen to the cells, then move this 4 over onto the 5, then we'll move the jack and the 10 back from the cells. Now I'm going to move the 9 and the 7 to the cells, and there we go. We get a bunch of stuff to our foundations. All our cells are full, but I think we're still okay. Let's move the 6 and the 7 of diamonds to the foundations. The 7 to the empty space, then we move the 8 to the foundation, we get the 5, 6, and we can move the 7 this king to the empty space, move the queen on top. And we'll move the 9 and 10 of diamonds to the foundation, the king and queen to the empty space. And I think we can pretty much solve this one. There we go. Alright, I think that's going to be all the FreeCell I'm going to play for tonight. So that was the first extra video where we play games on the computer. The next video is going to be another normal one where we play on a table. It's going to be a card game video. And I may end up doing other types of games on the computer as well. I'm thinking about, besides doing more FreeCell, which we're definitely going to do, we're going to play more of this. But I think it would also be cool to maybe play some RPGs on the computer as well. The one I currently have in mind is possibly playing Baldur's Gate, the original, the enhanced edition of the original specifically. So do let me know if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, because I think it'd be a lot of fun. But just a reminder again that any of the videos of me playing games on the computer would be extra videos. They would not interrupt my normal schedule of tabletop games, so don't worry about that. But yeah, that's going to be it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you have a great night, and sleep well.